go. Welcome, everybody, to the February 1st Planning Board of Hyde Park. Please note the exits, and if you could please stand with me as we salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is Hyde Park Town Center North. Can I have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Just as a note of order, Mr. Pickett is recused from, has stepped down from this, and Mr. Waters is sitting in on this application.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to come really and explain to you that we're not presenting this evening. I'm assuming that you knew that because you didn't have a submission.
Right.
At the last planning board meeting, there were essentially two things that we were tasked with doing. One was the noise study, which is has advanced. I shared some information with you today. I don't know if that was distributed or not to the board yet, but what has occurred is the noise consultant that we have retained, which was Novus Engineering, has had a subsequent conversation with Morris Associates just to clarify the scope. If you recall, George from Morris Associates is their noise consultant. So just to make sure everyone understood the scope and where we were going and what we were doing. So that occurred, I think, yesterday. And
Herb's all right.
Everything okay over
All right,
there?
Herb.
Oh, okay.
please don't make me start over. No. Okay. So that is proceeding. We're hoping that that is completed before February 15th. So our goal is to submit on February 15th, which is 2 weeks from today, and include the noise study and whatever amended secret documents we need to give to you. In order for that submission to occur, we would also need to get some feedback from your traffic consultant, which I believe came down yesterday, AKRF, and Monday. They had asked for some CAD drawings, which were forwarded over to them through Phil Gurley's office, so they have those. So things are going on behind the scenes. I just didn't want to not show up tonight, so I just wanted to let you know what the status was and what was going on. So again, our goal would be to submit that amended package, a complete package, on February 15th. Victoria will amend the EAF accordingly. I'm just going to do an amendment. I'm going to keep the same documents. We'll do a 1 and a 2-3. We'll do a draft 2, and give you that, as well as the site plan package, the elevations, and so forth. So our goal then would be to adjourn the public hearing to March 1st. I know that's an aggressive schedule, but we're really trying to keep everyone moving forward on that timeline.
So, have you applied for the variances yet?
No, Neil Alexander and I had a conference call to go over that, so we are going to submit the variance application. We'd like to just keep going concurrently, though, with the planning board as well. The original EAF was circulated to the Zoning Board of Appeals, so that's covered as far as lead agency circulation.
We had discussed moving the public hearing to the 15th of March.
Oh, okay.
The board can meet again and do a workshop of the new submission, but it's up to the board.
Right.
Okay, so the meeting, there would be no meeting March 1st. Is that what you were saying?
Well, this is just what we were discussing.
Whatever, you feel is the track you want to stay on, we'll stay on it with you if you think.
Well, we've kind of tasked all of the consultants, myself included, to make that February 15th submission. Again, the caveat would be if the noise study isn't completed, that would be the hang-up. But they have 2 full weeks to work on that.
Can I ask, for the noise study, how long does it take once they've done it? So they're going to do it on a Sunday, right? So
Yes,
are
correct.
they targeting this coming Sunday to do it?
That was something that was discussed with them when they discussed it with George. So it's weather dependent. I know that.
Well, yes.
Yeah, and so that's obviously a big factor.
Right.
I'm just trying to coordinate with one last property owner, which is the house on the other side of Cromwald, just
Okay.
to make sure, because I didn't realize, I thought, this is going to sound naive, I thought someone was just standing there with a meter, but it's actually something it's equipment that's set up that they have to leave for a duration
Oh,
of
so
time.
you need the homeowner
Well,
to
yeah, we
understand that
can't
there's
really
going to be
just leave it on the
something
road.
property.
Yeah, we can't really leave it on the road. So we've already talked to Alex Sarukas, we've talked to the other people, but that one we're trying to finalize. So I don't know the answer to that, but the consultant was tasked with, we need to submit on the 15th, and that's our goal. I can't guarantee that we're going to make that because we know that a lot of things are out of my control, but that was our goal.
Admirable.
Trying.
No
I
one
tend,
could.
I tend to push. People tell me
Set it
that.
up with the
Right.
first, And then we
Right,
can
and-
always postpone to the 15th.
I'm sorry, what
Set
was
it up
that,
for the
Jan?
First, and then we can always postpone to the 15th.
Well, no, we're talking about adjourning the public hearing, so whatever date we
Yeah,
do,
we
we'll
could-
be
yeah,
opening it.
We could adjourn it to the first, and then, if that.
Well, it sounds like they would like to adjourn this meeting, this public hearing, to the 1st,
Well, let me ask you this, just procedurally. So if we,
with the goal
this
to
is kind
submit.
of a you question, if we adjourn to March 15th, but still made the submission on the 15th and workshopped it on the 1st, and then whatever comments we got, we would address on the 15th, is that's, you
I
think,
mean,
is a
that's
safer route?
an option, to have
Yeah, and I think,
a workshop on the
Yeah.
1st and just continue the public hearing to the 15th.
There's no downside. We're still keeping that forward
it's still
momentum and
moving
meeting with
forward,
you.
and
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then even then, if you didn't make the 15th, we're still going to have some, if you made it the following week,
Yeah,
we'd still have
correct.
something to discuss on the 1st.
Right. So maybe that's a better route then. So I would be in agreement with that.
Okay. So we're going to look to workshop this on the 1st.
First, yep.
And adjourn the public hearing to the 15th. Okay, and so just, again, I just wanted to summarize what I heard, is that we have made progress, we've gotten agreement with the noise consultant on the scope of the test, we've talked with the traffic consultant and given him additional materials that he requested, and he came on the site this
Mhm.
past Monday. Okay, great, and you're going to try to get us some new information on the 15th.
Again, that, just to follow up on the traffic consultant, I have had no communication with the traffic consultant, which is fine, so I don't know what your communication was with them on when you wanted information back from them.
Gotcha.
So, for example, we couldn't receive something back on the 15th and submit on the 15th.
Correct.
We need a window of time to take in whatever their comments are, make those changes to the site plan, and then submit on the 15th.
Right. Now, I think Pete was meeting the traffic consultant on the site, and were you able to?
I was there. Pete Secura was there, Michael Dupree was there, and I were there.
Okay,
I left before they stopped talking, so I don't,
okay.
it was like an hour and a half
So the wheels
later.
are in motion, and,
The wheels are in motion, so I don't know what the final,
okay.
Could
He's
someone
engaged
follow
and-
up?
Yeah,
I don't know if someone could just follow up with Pete and see if they
Sure.
could set at least a deadline and see if the consultant can work towards that. If they can't, they can't. And so for us, the ideal would be if we had it a week from today, and then that would give us a week to make whatever changes that they have. I can't imagine they're going to be substantial because it's a small site, but whatever changes that they have, we could at least get them onto the site plan and get that printed and into you
sure,
in a
sure.
perfect world.
Well, and especially since he's already done the site visit.
Yeah,
And
he
he
has
has
the
these.
drawings.
And he had, exactly, he
Yeah.
should be able to do whatever it is that.
Right. And I think he spoke to Phil Grilly, which is good, so at least
Okay.
they're communicating.
All right. I'd like to ask Victoria if you have any additional items at this point.
I don't have anything additional at this point.
All right, because we did the whole cubic volume issue
Yes.
was,
Was addressed, yep, we
The
received
zoning
that letter.
administrator has opined on the applicability of two provisions of the zoning law regarding the cubic volume and the open space buffer, and she's provided their attorney with a letter, and I just asked earlier, and Kelly stated that she would be applying for a variance.
right. I just
Now
wanted
you know how
to,
I feel.
I just wanted to get some of the backstory of that onto the record.
Yes.
Okay, but other than that, there's been no other new information
The
that we're not going to be
applicant
addressing other than.
Not objected, as far as I know, you'll just be applying
Yeah.
for variances.
The one thing that we had asked for at the last meeting, and I think that you would need to receive the variance before you could act on it, is we were seeking the board's support of the variance application. I think it's not rocket science what we're going to be applying for.
Right, once you make your application, this board can consider drafting a letter and sending it to the zoning board of
Okay.
appeals.
Very
Yes.
good. Okay.
Right.
And they don't meet until after the second meeting in March, so
Mhm.
there'll be two opportunities.
To get in.
Yes.
Okay. They meet once a month.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
I-
We should,
Sorry? Okay, thank you.
Right, the fourth Wednesday of every month they meet.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to get any input from my colleagues. Ms. Kane, you were not here the last time, and they did have some new elevations, and I'm not sure that you were able to get your comments, and luckily Kelly is here, so.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay if I
Yes,
comment on?
oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm sorry I wasn't here. Had a virus that was going around my school. So I looked at the elevations, and the building, I think, looks really nice. I had two things I guess three things that stuck out to me. One was the ADA parking space is across the road from the building, and that just seems like not an ideal space for somebody who has mobility issues, to get across.
It's actually, do you want me to address yours one by one? Or do you want to list all three first?
I'll list all three.
Okay.
They're not that big.
Okay.
And I know that there are now parking spaces, or at least the room for parking spaces, right next to the building, on
Which
the
side?
west side.
Yes.
So that might be a better place for ADA parking. So
There's actually not room, oh, go ahead, what's your third one?
so, okay, no, so that's one. The other one is I have some concerns about the traffic pattern across the front of the building to get into, well, I say the front, the north side of the building, to get into those two bays.
Yep.
That because of the, what are they called, the ballards?
Bollard?
Bollards, the cars would have to drive across the path of pedestrians coming in and out of the retail area. And I don't think that that's ideal. I just worry, if somebody's there waiting with children and a child runs out the door just as somebody's pulling a car up. So I'd like to look at different ways of approaching that. The other one. Another one was whether or not the parking on the east side of the park, there's a strip of parking within the boundaries of that lot, and I'm not sure if that's necessary strip of parking, and.
It would have to be on the west side of the park, because the park is bumped up next to
Sorry,
the,
yeah.
okay. Mhm.
You're correct.
Yep.
No.
The park is up against the, oh, right, you're saying on the
West
other side, yep,
So
okay.
it's on the east
Right
side
next
of the
to it.
park.
Okay.
There's a strip of parking, and I'm wondering if that's necessary, and if it's not, we could extend the park just the distance of those parking spaces. The lot continues further, but there's a roadway that goes from Mr. Sarukis's property across, and we wouldn't want to interfere with that. But there is room to continue the park out the distance of those parking spaces. I think that's all I can remember right now.
So one by one, the ADA parking space was actually moved at the recommendation of the town engineer. So it was originally just west of the building, so it was really next to Ruth Masuda's building.
Right, exactly.
And everyone felt that that was a difficult transition for someone to make, to get out of that parking space and get across into the building, because the door for the retail area is now on the north side. What occurred is when we brought the ADA parking space to the north side of the main entrance road, there's now a raised curb. So it's like, let's see, have you been down to where Red Robin is and Pier 1?
So it's
They
a
have those
traffic
like
control.
humps that you
Yeah.
go over. So that's what it's gonna feel like, and it really does. It's a traffic calming. It protects the pedestrians because they're up and they're elevated. So when someone walks across, they're gonna have a crosswalk, and then they're gonna be on a raised curb, and that's ADA accessible
Right.
into the building.
Okay.
So the traffic consultant will look at that, and then our traffic consultant did, so that'll get 2 reviews
Right.
also. The second one was the traffic pattern into the north side. So we looked at that a lot, and we went over that with our traffic consultant, Phil Grilly, and we had a number of different options, and he thought that that was the safest option for everyone. Again, what we did was that raised curb, so when, let's say, for example, a service technician has a car, and he's bringing it from the parking lot into that area to get into the North Bays, they're actually driving over that speed hump. So if there's someone there, obviously you would see them, but it gives the pedestrians some extra protection of cars just coming back and forth. And that length in there that you have is a huge turning radius to give the drivers room so that it's not really tight and they're coming out and seeing someone on the, on that raised sidewalk. So that was the purpose. The alternative was bringing them in from the east side, and it just didn't work. There were so many problems with it because of that intersection. One of the things that we did that you may not have seen when you just kind of look at the plan and don't have an explanation is the stop bar. If you're coming from McDonald's and you're going north on the Third World Nation Road, the stop bar was so far to the south that you stop so far away that there's no traffic that you can even see. So we brought it much further up. So it's really gonna operate like a three-way intersection.
Right.
And to introduce another turning movement there was complicating that. So that's why we put it where we did. And so hopefully, you know, I'm sure AKRF is gonna look at that. That's one of the reasons that we think they wanted the AutoCAD drawing, is they probably wanna do turning radiuses. And then lastly, the east parking spaces. So they may not seem appropriate, but we've eliminated 46 spaces on the site. So we had 182 and we're down to 136. And for us, that's significant. It's a huge reduction. So at this point, any parking spaces, even though they may not seem valuable to you, are to us. So that further reduction would be difficult for us to absorb.
I appreciate your comments, and we'll wait to hear back from the, you know, traffic
Consultants.
consultants and discuss it more. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Kane. Mr. Murphy, do you have any additional comments? Okay. Mr. Waters?
Nothing further.
Nothing? Okay. Mr. Oliver?
No further comments?
Mr. Napoli?
Believe it or not, none from me either.
Goodness.
Is that on?
And that's on
That has now been recorded. Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this application? Okay, so no one additional. So if I got this right, we're looking to adjourn this public hearing to March 15th. Can I get a,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then we'll see you at a workshop on the 1st of
First,
March.
Correct, yes.
And we'll be looking for those materials on the 15th, and we'll ask Pete to follow up with the traffic
With
consultant
AKRF.
to
Yep, very
turn
good.
stuff around.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Berry Bed and Breakfast. And we're going to swap out our
Partners.
switch partners. Do-si-do. Oh,
He never was.
oh,
He never was.
that was Rob Waters. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I guess we're here to continue.
Yes, can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you. We haven't had any new submissions in the last, since the last seen you. So we're just really here for the continuation of the public hearing. And I anticipate by the 15th submitting the hopefully final package for the Berry site. It's mostly put together, just got to put some final details on it.
February 15th or March 15th?
Well, we would submit the plans by February 15th.
Okay.
So here's the holdup. At this point, the applicant still hasn't obtained the variances from the
Right.
zoning board of appeals. They won't be meeting again until the end of the month, February. So the public hearing really should be adjourned until after that meeting to give everyone the opportunity, to give the zoning board the opportunity to consider the variances, so we don't have to just keep coming back with no action.
March
Okay.
15th?
But his goal is to submit the materials that we would be considering on the 15th. So it is possible that we could adjourn this to the 1st.
It is possible.
Do you have a high confidence level that you can get us a submission by the 15th?
Yes,
Ah,
I do.
you do, okay. And then you would be hopefully getting your variance at the end of this month.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully that goes through.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that we need to know? It's basically all in the ZBA's purview at this point. Okay. I'm going to start again on the left. Ms. Kane, do you have any comments about this application?
No, nothing.
Mr. Murphy?
There's nothing new.
How about Mr. Pickett?
No comment.
Okay, Mr. Oliver?
No.
Mr. Napoli?
My only comment would be, will we ever get to meet the owner? Just out of pure curiosity.
I would hope so. I don't know when. I met with the guy who's probably going to build the building this afternoon, and he said Mr. Berry keeps in touch with him every once a month to make sure that he knows what's going on.
Good.
So he's still alive and well, and
That's very reassuring.
Do you know where he lives?
he lives in Long Island.
Okay, okay. So it's not, it's a long ride up here.
Yeah, and he doesn't have this house, he can't stay in it, so.
Good point. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak on this? Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing to March 1st?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll see you and
Thank you.
we wrap this up. Okay, the next item is the P&K Redemption Center. Here for a sign permit.
Good evening.
If you could please state your name for the record.
I'm John Lombardi, Amity Construction. I'm here on behalf of Kip Zimmerman, the owner from P&K Redemption.
I understand you stopped in the office and spoke with our assistant. Did we get all the paperwork that we needed for tonight?
Do we have a letter of vacancy?
Well, I think, yeah, we do like to have the,
I, Kip Zimmerman, give John Lombardi permission to speak on behalf. I wasn't reading aloud, I'm
With
sorry.
mumbling.
So it's a letter of authorization from Kip Zimmerman. Is he the owner of the property?
No, Kip Zimmerman is the tenant there.
So generally, we need a letter of authorization from the owner to allow you to speak on their behalf. It's a sign application, so it's not even that you need someone to present. So
Yeah.
I think it's
Okay.
okay to have Mr. Lombardi make the presentation, but if there are decisions that have to be made
okay,
or
like there's,
changes made,
right, right.
then we would need the owner to sign off on those.
Okay, right. Right now, we're deliberating the sign permit upon recommendation of the zoning administrator, so. Now, I understand that the original submission that came through, we were looking at it, trying to figure out if it had the design unity that we're looking for, but that plaza is a little bit complicated in that those two larger buildings on the north end are actually separate parcels, and then the long portion is one property also. So what we decided we would ask is if that original sign could either have a border put on it or change the color to match the sign next door. So I understand that we received, and everybody hopefully has had a chance to look at the amended sign application that now has a black border on it,
That's what
right?
Mr.
And I've
Zimmerman.
seen it, it's up, and it makes a huge difference to have that border on there with the yellow background. So I thank you for doing that.
Originally, it was down a little lower on the trim. It wasn't in the center of the eave. I went back with him. I talked to John Leese. In fact, I know there's a letter floating around here, but I don't have the specific letter that I was authorized to talk on his behalf, because I worked for the furniture store next door on getting their sign situated, but Dale came on his own behalf.
Okay,
As far as, I know we had a conversation today, as far as trying to match everything else in the plaza, we felt the same way. Mr. Leese really didn't discuss with Mr. Zimmerman that you wanted conformity throughout the whole place, because the shopping plaza has all signage in the windows.
Correct.
Or on the windows.
Correct.
And these pieces belong to two separate LLCs, which John Lease and other investors own on behalf. So Mr. Zimmerman was kind of saying, I wasn't even aware that you wanted us to match
Right.
because the furniture store didn't match.
Right.
The other problem that he has is finances. Yeah, I mean, the gentleman's collecting bottles at a penny or 2 cents a piece, and the guy's, that's why he didn't want to come here tonight. He's working 8, 10, 12 hours a
Wow.
day in the store himself, 7 days a week to get the business off and running, and he's doing phenomenal. He's been meeting his targets for his bottle redemption in, but
that's excellent.
eventually he would like to utilize the post out near the road that the HSB sign had some post out there
Okay.
and put the sign out there. But
But for right now, this is just the wall
funds
sign
are-
for the
funds are
business.
real tight. When he moved in, we had to do a lot of other stuff that he was unexpected, the cost that he had to
Mm-hmm.
incur to meet the building codes application and stuff like that, so.
Okay. Well, we do appreciate I mean, I personally appreciated just putting the border on it, because I think that did make a huge difference. But I will definitely like to hear from my colleagues on this one. There's nothing on here that, okay. I'm going to start on my right, Mr.
No comment.
No? Mr. Oliver.
No, I like the border. I think it looks a lot better.
Made a nice difference. Mr. Pickett?
Does the furniture sign have a border around it?
The furniture sign is a bluish sign,
Right.
and it's made out of a fence, and I don't believe there's a border on it
No,
because it
no.
looks, it's supposed to look like a picket fence.
Right, okay.
And in fact, that's a good point, because when the gentleman came in with that sign permit to the zoning administrator, it was, the comment that we got back was, no, we don't like it. And then when you guys got him, he got in front of you, you loved it. And I think it stands out beautifully there, you know?
It pops.
I don't know, I like it better without the border. I think the border just tries to cram something in there, and it doesn't fit. And since the other one didn't have a border, raising it up in the height, I think, is a good spot, but
Okay.
as far as the border.
Well, this is ours to consider, so good points. Mr. Murphy?
I think it's fine, that's very unobtrusive, I think it's good signs. Who? Very unobtrusive, I like it.
Okay. And Ms. Kane?
I like the sign with the border. I think because of the color of the sign and the color of the wall, the border does help the sign to stand out. It's a very nice sign.
Okay. All right, so who has this? You have this. Okay.
Okay, resolution recommendation for issuance of sign permit pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24.3-A4D.
Oh, there you go.
February 1st, 2007, Resolution 2017-02. Whereas, be it resolved, the board hereby recommends the zoning administrator issue the sign permit for P&K Redemption, latest revision date 1/11/2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Okay. The ayes have it. Thank you. You have a sign, and we have a new business in Hyde Park, so it's P&K Redemption. And what are their hours?
They're usually open from 9 o'clock to like 6 o'clock at night.
Okay.
He's open Sundays now also.
Okay.
And he's doing very well, and bring any bottles down, and you can bring right in. The place is clean.
And my understanding is he takes any bottle, so it's not like you have to remember where you bought things from. and
Nope, you go in there and you just put them on the counter, and he takes them, he'll sort them and put them in the proper bins, and it's 1, 2, 3, you're in and out.
Great. We are so happy to have, that's basically full, that site.
Full service
Yes.
station, yeah. You
Yeah.
walk right in there, he takes good care of you.
That's great.
Okay, thank you very much, I
Well,
appreciate it.
tell him we welcome him to Hyde Park.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Good seeing you, John. Next item on the agenda is the El Guacamole Mexican Grill. This is also a sign permit upon recommendation of the zoning administrator. Has everybody had a chance to see this? Have there been any changes coming in on this one? There have been no changes, okay, because I personally have an issue with this one. Uh-oh. Sorry.
Is your issue with the sign itself or with the unity factor?
It's with the sign and the fact that it does not appear to map into what was approved for the sign unity for the site. I think you all received the additional information for when we originally approved the signs. Did you all receive that, that shows the borders? Let me see if I have.
Do you want this one?
Yeah.
What,
So when this was originally approved, it specifically, I think, painted black background with applied first surface gold lettering was what was approved for signs for this plaza. And what has been submitted to us is a brown background with an orange. Yes. So we have a bit of an issue here.
Can I sort of play devil's advocate?
Yes, please do.
One, this is a Mexican restaurant, and these colors are more appropriate for a Mexican restaurant. Two, when these signs were originally done, and one of the restaurants, Twist, did not conform?
Not in the colors, I think it was in the, it had a different
Right.
logo.
Does that then open up the door?
Does it,
I don't know. Or is it purely up to the board to decide how strictly?
it's
I
up
don't mean
the-
to be
it's
giving
up-
you a
It's
headache,
up to the
Victor.
board to determine whether the design unity standard is met. In this case, it appears that I haven't reviewed the file in advance of this meeting, but it appears that there's a site plan approval which lays out the approved colors.
Right,
And so the
very
question
specifically.
I would have for the zoning administrator would be that if they are to not follow that, is it a site plan amendment that's required?
No, we don't want them going through all that.
Right.
I mean, that was not the
Right.
goal of my comment.
You know, this is one of those plazas that we have the luxury of being able to do something like this, where we can kind of get it all done so that they don't have to come in and do more paperwork. So, you know, it's a handshake deal that we'll plan it out now and make it easier for you in the future, but you need to adhere to what we've approved. My question on this is I'm trying to find where it actually says, it doesn't say on here that the background is brown. This is what,
Could be a printing error.
it could be a printing error.
It says it needs to conform with
It says
the-
new signs need to conform in shape, size, and color.
Well, one thing you could consider if the board wants to continue with the black and gold standard is to condition approval on the sign
Meaning-
being in black and gold.
Okay,
Then they don't have to come back in.
I like that.
yeah.
I like that.
Is it?
All right, so who has this?
I do.
And I would just like to kind of get a sense from the board what your feeling is, now that we've kind of laid this out and we know what we've approved in the past and what appears to be coming forward. Diane, let's start with you. What are your feelings on the sign, even though it looks more?
It's probably more because I really don't like the black and gold. Truth be told, and what they presented was a little bit softer, but my intent was not to make their lives more difficult at all. You know, if this makes it faster for them to put up a sign so that their business is successful, that's my goal.
Thank you very much. Mr. Oliver?
I think they're getting to express their business with their window sign, and I think it's important we keep the design unity for the plaza.
Okay, so you would like to see a condition put onto the
Yes.
resolution? Mr. Pickett?
I like the colors that they have submitted, so I'm with, pardon?
Yeah, for some reason yours needs to come closer.
I like the colors that they have submitted, so
even though it doesn't conform with the design unity that was previously approved.
In my opinion, it's close enough for the dark background, and you haven't got bright gold, but you have orangish brown.
Okay, no, that's fine, I just wanted to try to clarify. And Mr. Murphy?
I agree with Chris. I'd like to see it come into more unity. We've had other people that had different signs, and we've had them come closer to unity, and I think we ought to maintain that posture.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. And Ms. Kane?
Personally, I think if it had the black background, the print of the copy that we have definitely looks more brown, but if it had the black background with that color lettering, I wouldn't have a problem with it because it's not so far off of gold. However, I have the resolution in front of me, and the therefore be it resolved says that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board recommends approval, the applicant has confirmed that the color on the black background of the sign will match the gold of the other tenants.
Oh,
So there we go.
So,
Apparently Tad spoke.
so
with them.
there sounds like there was a conversation.
yeah,
This was a moot conversation we just had.
just want to throw that out there.
Printing error.
Wish I'd read that
Okay,
first.
all right, but
It's good practice. Very lively discussion.
I know, I doesn't matter, it's,
Michael would have started to the left.
yeah, but I'm the person that no matter what line I get in, stops moving, so it wasn't gonna work no matter what. So it sounds like the resolution has been prepared, and it does state that it will match.
It's going to be black and gold.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it sounds like we might be
So
okay, so
everybody's good with everything else
we'll find out when
about
we
it?
take the vote.
Okay. All right, so resolution 2017-3, February 1st, 2017, whereas the applicant has confirmed the color on the black background of the sign will match the gold on the other tenant signs, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board recommends approval of the sign permit for El Guacamole on the condition that the sign will have the black background with gold lettering.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion has passed. That was a good exercise. And then the last item on the agenda is site plan waiver for Tim and Victoria Kane, who just happens to be on the board, who will now recuse herself from this application. This is just a site plan waiver because she is in the scenic area of statewide significance, the SAS. They are doing a window replacement, which is why it's before us. It's an exterior change that we would see. This is not visible from it's not visible from the river. It's not visible from any historic site.
Can't see that from the river.
I
think.
don't know. So she has applied, and this is on recommendation of our zoning administrator. Who has this one?
That'd be me.
Uh-oh, I don't know.
All right. Resolution number 2017-05. Whereas a request for site plan waiver has been made to the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board by Victoria and Timothy Kane for minor changes in existing conditions requiring a building permit, and whereas, therefore be resolved that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board hereby waives site plan requirements for the proposed changes as described in the building permit received by the Building Department 11/1/2016 and per the request to the Planning Board dated January 30th, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. Enjoy your renovations there. Yes.
You want an adjournment motion now, or
Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
you, so moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you to our media committee, going above and beyond once again.
Yeah.